So, hello and welcome everyone to this afternoon meditation. And we'll also be having a discussion session to follow up the initial meditation, so stick around for that. Should be very interesting. We're talking about the Matrix movie, we'll be discussing that, and a blueprint for your higher self. So just going somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed for the next half an hour or so, putting your phone on mute or silent. Just sitting comfortably with your feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap, keep your back straight. Close your eyes and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in through the nose, noticing how the stomach rises, the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle, just feel this life energy rising up the spine into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Take another sip of air in. Just check in with your mind. So scanning your mind, noticing any thoughts, any emotions going on there, particularly anything that feels at all unpleasant, limiting, contracted, constricting, negative. Just notice these thoughts and emotions. Notice their emotional tone. Notice how they make you feel physically. And to help you let them go, you're just going to apply today's workbook lesson 28. Just say, above all else, I want to see things differently, which means I want to see this person, situation, circumstance differently. Just notice what happens when you say that. Maybe there's a little bit of a lightening. Just breathe into that negativity. Imagine you breathing in light, beautiful golden or white light. Just bringing some awareness. Light is really just awareness and understanding. So as soon as you bring that in to any negative thought or emotion, it starts to dissipate of itself. And just feel that sense of lightness. You can be aware of this thought and emotion. Then, by definition, you are not it. It does not define you completely. There is another awareness coming in that's able to just observe it in quite a detached way. And what is that awareness then? Well, that must be something higher, something truer. It's from this awareness that you will see things differently. And so as you exhale, you're just going to imagine that you're blowing out all of this negativity like a black smoke out of your mouth. Imagine a dark energy just leaving your body. Just releasing it all, letting it all go, surrendering it. Pull the lower stomach into the spine sharply, the bottom of the exhale. Just pause here. Smile as you connect with the stillness, and the gap between breaths and the gap between words. Remind yourself there's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about for the next 25 minutes or so. Just breathe, relax, be still. So breathing in again, notice the stomach rise, the chest rise, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle that locks the energy in, also creates a pumping action up the spine. Draw the energy up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart. Feel that warm, tingling sensation in your heart center. And then take another sip of air and draw the energy all the way up the spine. It's like the cresting of a wave in the ocean. Just drawing up the spine to the crown of your head. Pause at the top of the inhale. Smile, check in with your mind again. If you notice any thoughts and emotions still going on there, imagine they're just like cloud patterns drifting by. They have no power to obscure the eternal sky, which is your awareness, or the light that is the truth, the source of your being. So just smile as you notice them, and as you exhale this time out your nose, keep your mouth closed, make a fogging sound in the back of your throat. Just sigh them away, letting them all go, blowing them away with the breeze of your breath. Say, I'm determined to see things differently. Above all else, I want to see things differently. This really is a statement of commitment. That you want to see beyond the cloud patterns. You want to see the light. You want to clear your mind and come into this beautiful, peaceful, calm, empty, open, spacious awareness more and more. To see the world through that, from that place, rather than from a place of being lost in the clouds. So exhale it all out. Come to rest for a few seconds in stillness at the bottom of the exhale. Smile. Just notice the spacious awareness, the light that opens up in the gap between breaths. Really pay attention to that, because all these words, breathing practices, meditations, just designed to take you into that space, into the gap beyond form, beyond your thoughts and emotions, to a pure awareness that's transcendent, that is eternal, permanent. This is what all these spiritual practices are designed to help you to do. So just allow your mind to go there. Pay attention to your breath. Keep watching your breath. Breathing nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths in your own time. Watching the subtle sensations of the breath to bring your mind completely into the present moment. So you don't have to think about anything. You just bring your mind to an awareness of these present sensations that gives your mind something to focus on. It's called a mantra in meditation terms. This tricks the thinking mind, the monkey mind as the Buddhists call it, into just focusing on something else. If you say, let me not think, then almost certainly the mind's going to start thinking. So this just gives the mind something else to focus on. Like a dog with a bone, a way to shut a dog that's barking up is give it a bone. We'll start chewing the bone. So the same principle. So just watch your breath. It's getting more and more relaxed with each breath, creating a nice, calm, empty, open, spacious awareness in your mind, into which you're going to allow these words from section 3 of chapter 5, titled The Guide to Salvation, just to drop in. Imagine they're like pebbles dropping into a pond on a very still, calm, windless day. Because your mind is so still, pebbles of these ideas are going to make an impact. They're going to ripple all the way to the depths of subconscious, which is where these pebbles of light are going to come to rest. Just starting to undo this default thought system of the ego based on separation and come to rest in your subconscious and enlighten your mind. So just allow them in. You don't have to listen intellectually, you don't have to understand them intellectually, just listen with your heart. Keep one hand on your heart center to anchor you into your heart space. Just breathe, relax, be still. Just allow these words to seep in. Listen emotionally, listen for the energy, it's a frequency you're tuning into. If you can experience the love, the peace, and the joy that these words point to, then the intellectual understanding is unnecessary. It will come of itself. It's really about understanding with your heart. So feel into these words. And keep watching your breath to keep your mind in a nice, still, calm, empty, open, receptive state. So let's hear what Jesus has to say about the guide to salvation. Starts off by saying that the way to recognize your brother is by recognizing the Holy Spirit in him. I have already said that the Holy Spirit is the bridge for the transfer of perception to knowledge. So we can use the terms as if they were related, because in his mind they are. This relationship must be in his mind because, unless it were, the separation between the two ways of thinking would not be open to healing. He is part of the Holy Trinity because his mind is partly yours and also partly God's. This eternal loving presence you can call God in a word. It's just terminology. So this needs clarification, not in statements, but in experience. So Jesus is saying that it is all about experience. In the Manual for Teachers, he says, a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. So this is designed to bring about an experience in your mind and your heart. Just keep watching your breath, staying in this nice, still, calm, empty, open awareness. Watch these ideas just resonate and drop in and radiate through your mind because it's so calm and empty. An empty vessel can receive, but a vessel that's full of something, in this case thought, simply can't receive these new ideas. Keep watching your breath, staying in this nice, still, calm, empty, open, spacious awareness. As you listen to these profound words of wisdom from our master teacher, Jesus. So he says the Holy Spirit is the idea of healing. Being thought, the idea gains as it is shared. Being the call for God, for love, is also the idea of God, of an eternal, infinite, unconditional, loving presence. That's the idea. Doesn't matter what you call it, because it's beyond name, beyond all form. Since you are part of God or love, it is also the idea of yourself, as well as of all his creations, all its creations. The idea of the Holy Spirit shares the property of other ideas, because it follows the laws of the universe of which it is a part. It is strengthened by being given away. It increases in you as you give it to your brother. Your brother does not have to be aware of the Holy Spirit in himself or in you for this miracle to occur. He may have dissociated the call for God, the call for love, just as you have. This dissociation is healed in both of you as you become aware of the call for God, the call for love in Him, and thus acknowledge its being. So just pause there, watch your breath, reflect on these ideas. Jesus is telling us very clearly that we're working with ideas. God is an idea, the Holy Spirit is an idea. It's all just ideas in the mind. Language, concepts just point to these fundamental ideas. If ideas are true, then they will bring us peace and joy. Any idea that's true comes from God ultimately. Ideas that are false make their own likeness, as he'll continue to clarify. So he says, there are two diametrically opposed ways of seeing your brother. They must both be in your mind, because you are the perceiver. They must also be in his, because you are perceiving him. See him through the Holy Spirit in his mind, and you will recognize him in yours. What you acknowledge in your brother, you are acknowledging in yourself, and what you share, you strengthen. Pause, keep watching your breath. So Jesus is talking about a fundamental law of mind. As you see others, you will see yourself. It's inevitable. You see others as separated, as difficult, evil even. Then, just by thinking those thoughts, you are attributing those qualities to yourself. Who's experiencing those thoughts? You are. So that then becomes your reality. You cannot help strengthening whatever thoughts you think about anyone in yourself. So he says the voice of the Holy Spirit is weak in you. That is why you must share it. It must be increased in strength before you can hear it. It is impossible to hear it in yourself while it is so weak in your mind. It is not weak in itself, but it is limited by your unwillingness to hear it. If you make the mistake of looking for the Holy Spirit in yourself alone, your thoughts will frighten you because, by adopting the ego's viewpoint, you are undertaking an ego-alien journey with the ego as guide. This is bound to produce fear. So just think about that briefly. You cannot find the Holy Spirit in yourself alone. You try and do that, and you're using the ego to try and find what is beyond the ego. This is bound to produce confusion and fear ultimately, because you can't adopt a spiritual journey with the ego as your guide. It's impossible. It's just going to create conflict in the mind. So we need to listen to the Holy Spirit and share it. In the sharing of it, in the giving of it, it strengthens in our own mind. That's why teaching and learning are really synonymous. As you give, you receive. As you teach, you learn. So let's continue this profound section. As you keep watching your breath, if you notice any thoughts or emotions coming in that are distracting you from this deep immersion into this meditation and really just being an empty vessel into which these words can drop, and just notice them. Imagine they're like cloud patterns just drifting by the sky of your awareness. You just blow them away with the wind of your breath. Return your mind to this calm, empty, open, spacious state in which these words just are received You feel the energy, feel the love and the peace and the joy to which you could point in your heart. Keep one hand in your heart center to help you do that. So Jesus continues, he says, delay is of the ego because time is its concept. Both time and delay are meaningless in eternity, which is completely beyond time. So he clarifies, he said, I've said before that the Holy Spirit is God's answer, love's answer to the ego. Everything of which the Holy Spirit reminds you is in direct opposition to the ego's notions, because true and false perceptions are themselves opposed. The Holy Spirit has the task of undoing what the ego has made. He undoes it at the same level on which the ego operates, or the mind would be unable to understand the change. It's quite an important point that. Just keep watching your breath, keep your mind nice and still, calm, empty, open, and aware as you absorb this reflection on these words I'm going to share with you. You must undo the ego at the level it was made. It's the level of form, the level of the world. So as the ego shows up, usually triggered by people, places, circumstances, and events, it shows up as false ideas, thoughts, beliefs, emotions in our mind. As this happens, we must undo it at the level that it was made. In other words, simply look at it and say, this is not true, this isn't real. And so I'm willing to let go of these thoughts and feelings. This is forgiveness, the undoing that the Course is really training us to do at the same level on which the ego operates. Can't just go to eternity into revelation straight away. It's a gradual process of undoing all these false beliefs in our mind as they show up in our lives, usually triggered by our experiences in life. So let's continue. Jesus says, I've repeatedly emphasized that one level of the mind is not understandable to another. So it is with the ego and the Holy Spirit, with time and eternity. Eternity is an idea of God, an idea of love, perfect love. So the Holy Spirit understands it perfectly. Time is a belief of the ego, so the lower mind, which is the ego's domain, accepts it without question. The only aspect of time that is eternal is now. So just pause, think on that. Right now, you're just totally in the now. Your awareness is rooted in the present moment. And you are in eternity. Time is penetrated by eternity only in the now. Past is in your mind, the future is imagined. These are just thoughts that obscure the present moment awareness. That's why coming into the now, bring your attention into present moment is such a fundamental spiritual practice, because it takes you back to the state of mind that is beyond time. Eternity is not forever in time, it's no time, it's a state of completely beyond time. So the Holy Spirit is the mediator between the interpretations of the ego and the knowledge of the Spirit. His ability to deal with symbols enables him to work with the ego's beliefs in its own language. His ability to look beyond symbols into eternity enables him to understand the laws of God, this eternal, infinite, loving presence for which he speaks. He can therefore perform the function of reinterpreting what the ego makes, not by destruction, but by understanding. Understanding is light, and light is to knowledge. The Holy Spirit is in light because He is in you who are light. You yourself do not know this. It is therefore the task of the Holy Spirit to reinterpret you on behalf of God and His eternal loving presence. So just breathe in the light. The light is understanding. It's just letting go of your existing beliefs, opening yourself to another understanding coming into your mind. You can visualize that as a golden or white light just flowing into your stomach, into your heart center, every pore, every cell of your body, every corner of your mind. Breathing in the light. Smile. Just feel that spacious, empty, open awareness opening up. That's the light in which understanding will come. So you cannot understand yourself alone, says Jesus. This is because you have no meaning apart from your rightful place in the sonship. And the rightful place of the sonship is God, or love. This is your life, your eternity, and your capital self. It is of this that the Holy Spirit reminds you. It is this that the Holy Spirit sees. So just see that in your mind. So you're totally in the now and you're connected to the light. Now as you exhale out your mouth, just share it. Extend it outwards. Imagine extending the light. It's the light of truth, understanding to everyone you know in your life, friends, family, acquaintances, colleagues, and so on. And then outwards to the entire world. That's every human being, every living creature is in the light underneath all the forms, all the movement in time and space is this eternal light that simply does not change. This is the one self Jesus is pointing to, which brings peace of itself. It says this vision, total light and peace, frightens the ego because it is so calm. Peace is the ego's greatest enemy because, according to its interpretation of reality, war is the guarantee of its survival. The ego becomes strong in strife. If you believe there is strife, you will react viciously because the idea of danger has entered your mind. The idea itself is an appeal to the ego. The Holy Spirit is as vigilant as the ego to the call of danger, opposing it with His strength, just as the ego welcomes it. The Holy Spirit counters this welcome by welcoming peace. Eternity and peace are as closely related as are time and war. Just reflect on that and feel the peace to which this is pointing in your mind. Just breathing it in. Imagine breathing in this light, this peace, into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every corner of your mind. Going into peace, into light, beyond thoughts, just is. There's an amazing quality that the ego simply does not have. Total peace and calm. And there's happiness and love and joy. It's all in there. It's It's just an experience. So experience it now. Put your hand on your heart center and slip down. Slip into that peace. It's really beyond perception. As Jesus says, perception derives meaning from relationships. Those you accept are the foundations of your beliefs. Separation is merely another term for a split mind. The ego is the symbol of separation, just as the Holy Spirit is the symbol of peace. What you perceive in others, you are strengthening in yourself. You may let your mind misperceive, but the Holy Spirit lets your mind reinterpret its own misperceptions. It's an important point. The Holy Spirit is the reinterpreter. It's like a translator, translation program. It takes these symbols made by the ego and reinterprets them from the perspective of perfect oneness, love, eternity, to reinterpret misperceptions and make them into true perceptions. So the Holy Spirit is the perfect teacher. He uses only what your mind already understands to teach you that you do not understand it. The Holy Spirit can deal with a reluctant learner without going counter to his mind, because part of it is still for God. Part of your mind is still in the mind of God or love. Still knows that its eternal loving presence is the truth. Despite the ego's attempts to conceal this part, it is still much stronger than the ego, although the ego does not recognize it. The Holy Spirit recognizes it perfectly because it is his own dwelling place, a place in the mind where he is at home. You are at home there too, because it is a place of peace, and peace is of God. Peace is of this loving presence. Identified with love and peace, happiness, joy will all come of themselves. You who are part of God, of love, are not at home except in his peace, in the peace of love. If peace is eternal, you are at home only in eternity. It's unimaginable to the ego that we could just have peace forever. Never any fluctuation in this perfect peace, never any disturbance, just peace eternal. So the ego made the world as it perceives it. The Holy Spirit, the reinterpreter of what the ego made, sees the world as a teaching device for bringing you home. The Holy Spirit must perceive time and reinterpret it into the timeless. He must work through opposites because he must work with and for a mind that is in opposition. Correct and learn and be open to learning. You have not made truth, but truth can still set you free. Look as the Holy Spirit looks, and understand as he understands. His understanding looks back to God, to love, in remembrance of me. He is in communion with God or love always, and he is part of you. He is your guide to salvation because he holds the remembrance of things past and to come, and brings them to the present. He holds this gladness gently in your mind, asking only that you increase it in his name by sharing it, to increase his joy in you. Which brings us to the end of this section, so just sink in for a couple of minutes into peace, into the light, into the joy. Give yourself a total experience of immersing yourself into this part of your mind that knows that love, peace, and joy are all there really is, all is true. These are your true reality. And they are not thoughts, they are just experiences. You just feel them. So give yourself permission to do that now. Just step back, breathe, relax, watch your breath. Keep your mind Nice, still, calm, empty, open awareness. And sink into the light. You can imagine breathing in beautiful golden or white light that helps you. Put your hand on your heart center. And you're just going deeper and deeper with each breath into the light. Feel the peace and the love and the joy arising in your mind. For the next 2 minutes of deep silence. And if you notice any thoughts arising, any thoughts at all, they're just distractions from the light of eternal peace. Notice them and just let them blow away. It's the wind of your breath as you exhale. Sigh them all out, letting them all go. They have no power to obscure the light of your source, sun, in this analogy, or the awareness of that, which is the eternal sky. So sink into that awareness, just let it arise completely in your mind. Smile, breathe, keep your hand on your heart center, just slip into the light. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. For another minute of deep silence. And so just gently going back, bring your awareness back into the body, into the world through your senses. In the same way that we entered and went through the meditation. So just by breathing, on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathe in, notice subtle sensations of the breath, the stomach rising, chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale, smile. Feel the energy rising up your spine, subtle clenching of your sphincter muscle. And notice that this light and the peace, the love, the joy that goes with it are still there. In fact, they can never go away. These are your natural state, default state of awareness. So just notice them. By noticing them, anchor them in, set the intention to stay there for the rest of the session and your afternoon and weekend. Do that just by keeping some awareness on your breathing. Just by staying connected to your breath, you also connect with the light. So it's said, so it is done. So exhale out your nose, keep your mouth closed, make a little sighing sound on the back of your throat as though you're fogging sunglasses. Notice the air flowing out of your nostrils, notice that vibration in your throat as you sigh it all out. You feel this energy that you raised up just subsiding back down, front channel of your body coming to rest in the lower stomach and the groin. Just resting there, peace and stillness in the silence. Noticing the weight of your body on the count of 2, pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Just noticing your other body senses. So what are you feeling with your hands touching? Maybe there's a subtle flow of air on your skin. As you breathe in, notice that air flowing in and any smell that it has. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice that. And notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, surrendered state. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. Stay in the light. So it is said, so it is done. Notice the sounds and surrounding environment. Just don't name them, judge them, label them in any way. Just allow them to be. Notice how they arise and they subside. And your mind is very still, very calm, empty, open, but aware as you do that. And now on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just look around and we'll do a little mind training practice period. So as you look around, just say, above all else, I want to see things differently. And then just let your eyes focus, randomly rest on various objects for a few seconds each, and just say, above all else, I want to see this table, for instance, differently. Above all else, I want to see this computer or this mobile phone differently. Just do that for half a dozen objects. Just pausing, letting your eyes rest on the object as you say, above all else, I want to see this, name it, whatever it is, differently. And then move on to something else. And notice how you feel as you say this, as you say these words. You should feel calm, peaceful, quite detached. Just training your mind not to interpret, not to give everything the default meanings that your ego is assigned to them. It's part of the mind training. To undo our current perceptions. The first part of the workbook is about undoing the way you see now. The second part is about really establishing a totally different perception in your mind. And then one more time, just to conclude, say, above all else, I want to see things, I want to see everything differently, above all else. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Above all else, I want to see things differently. It's quite a statement, really, isn't it? It's a real commitment. Above all else, all my other desires, all my other goals, above all else, I just want to see differently. And that's the real journey. The hero's journey is a journey into the mind. It's not about going somewhere physically. The real journey is an inner one, to discover this presence in you, in your mind, the presence of God, love, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. And just to allow that to arise more and more in your mind, to inform all of your perceptions. That's the real journey of discovery. As today's quote expressed quite nicely, I chose it because it expresses that sentiment. The real voyage of discovery is not external. It's not going to different places, seeking out different experiences. It's just seeing with new eyes. It's changing your perception. So I hope you enjoyed that. Shall we do a little check-in, or expression session, just to lead us into today's discussion? So, Karen, I see you unmuted. Do you want to go? Do you want to go first?
Can do. I always give it back to you, so I suppose it's my turn today.
Yeah.
Sure. Where am I? I think I'm in a little bit of a better place than I am when I was a week ago. Feeling sort of very disconnected and separate from everything and everyone. I've been really applying the lessons this week, doing quite a lot of homework. And then I also did exercise 6. I think it was exercise 6. Drawing myself.
Oh.
And you advised that I drew things rather than myself. So I did it again, feeling a lot, like I said, more connected than I was last week. And I actually drew myself as probably an image of who and what I'd like to be, whether it's on this earth plane or in spirit, which is much of a muchness really to me.
Yeah, same really. That's your essence. That's who you really are.
Yeah, not just these objects of different things lying around, disconnected from everything and everyone. So yeah, that's been a great, let's say a great. It's not even an accomplishment, because that's also just part of the illusion, but it's been, I would say, a shift. Maybe going to my message from earlier to the group is, shift, because I had probably one of the more stressful kind of weeks again, and I managed to actually stay calm and stay in balance. Yeah, that's my check-in, I think.
Good. Well done.
Thank you.
Lisa?
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could stay in today. It hasn't been an easy week for me. But yeah, I did feel the need that I really do need these classes, and I should just start taking them seriously. I hope I'm not too late. Because you said this is the last week. Is that what you said?
It's the last week of the course. The course, the Art of Letting Go course, is a 6-week program. But thereafter, if you want to continue, there's an entire rest of the year. So the Course in Miracles, as you know, is a 365 lessons. So it's a year's program. And then there's a lot of the text, and there's a manual for teachers and a few supplements to work through as well. So the Art of Letting Go course, it is a standalone course, and you can stop and go, okay, thank you, I got value out of that, and I'm going to continue on my own. Or at the end of it, you can decide, to continue with this process and work through the entire Course in Miracles. So daily lessons that I send you via WhatsApp and email, pretty much the same format. Just the daily meditations available, a weekly discussion to continue on, because 6 weeks is a nice introduction, and you can really get a shift, as Karen said, and that's the idea. It's to crack open some of the ego's thought system and start shifting you. But then, after 6 weeks, that's you're almost certainly not going to be, fully enlightened. It just doesn't happen that way. It takes It's a lifetime. This is a lifetime journey, and challenges keep arising. Stuff keeps coming up. You're going to keep getting tested in life. In fact, those tests are necessary to grow. So the idea is that it's a program that just, helps you in your daily life, a bit like you go to gym regularly. People go to gym.
The lifestyle.
Yeah, it's part of your life. You just, your spirit. It's sort of spiritual training, spiritual practice on an ongoing basis, rather than just doing it for 6 weeks and going, okay, well, now I go back to how I was. Just integrating into your life and saying, yeah, this is like my spiritual gym, and I need this to keep mentally fit and flexible, and it starts to become an essential part of how you run your life. That's the idea. So yeah, certainly you can continue. It's not the end. It's really just the beginning. The end of the 6 weeks. It's like, okay, you've got to the end of the beginning, and now you can continue. I've been practicing this and studying it for 15 years now, and I'm still learning. I'm still, it's just part of my life. This is what I do every day, and so you're learning and growing every day. So I hope that answers your question, but carry on with your check-in.
Indeed, I will definitely. It's just with regards to the amount of work, I can't balance. It's not easy to balance. And I think maybe because of doing a lot of things, but I've also decided that what I will do, I will just focus on one thing, and just property. And I was also selling cars, so I've actually put it aside a bit, and I've actually delegated someone to sort of do it for me. Then I'll just get a certain percentage. So I think some of the things we just make ourselves work too hard without sort of having a proper schedule. But I have learned a lot, especially with the codes. I made it a point that with the codes, I read them all the time, and I really do learn a lot from these courses.
That's great.
I'm really proud of Karen as well. Karen is really doing the homework. So I'm learning, and I will also do the same.
Okay.
Lisa, what helped me was to completely separate it, because I can also get completely stuck in my business or something else, So I actually right at the start got a dedicated journal that I write in every single day. I write the quotes and the inspirational quote for the day, and then I also printed the manual that Jono sent us. So that's then I work through the exercises each one by one, and then I actually take just a simple post-it and I put the thought for the day onto a post-it somewhere where I can see it time and time again. So those are just little things that help me to not be stuck in my own business for 14 hours of the day, because I see the post-it and it reminds me. And then at the end of the day, I take that post-it and stick it there by the lesson in my journal. Some simple things that make it a lot easier, because it's very easy to just fall off and not do it and get behind. And I've done that a little bit. But then I catch up. So I had to go back to exercise 6 last week after the discussion with Jono, but I got busy. So then I caught it up today with exercise 7 and 8 as well. I hope you can stay with us, because you're really awesome.
Thank you. I'll definitely do the same. I'm going to print it out today, and I will follow through.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks for those tips, Karen. In fact, I'm going to introduce that the next course I run. I'm going to suggest that people do what you did. That they have a journal, do the post-it notes, because it's all about getting the most out of the process. It's a 6-week process. If you if you put little into it, and you're not really working with ideas and stuff, it's not going to do that. But if you immerse yourself in it, then obviously you're going to get the benefit. And you don't. Part of the forgiveness or the letting go is to just let go of the idea that you need to do it perfectly. That's also part of it, because you're just not. I mean, the course is comprehensive. There's a lot of material. I mean, giving you these discussion sessions every day. I mean, if you wanted to, you could spend hours and hours on it every day. And I don't necessarily expect you to do that, but it's all there, so that you can immerse yourself in to whatever level you can. If you can spend an hour a day, spend an hour a day. If you can spend 2 hours a day, spend 2 hours a day. And just be like, yeah, that's okay. That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm doing the course, and that's okay. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. If you get behind, you catch up. The fact is, you're doing something, which is great. And that the quotes and do you also pay attention to the mind training lessons, because both are important. The idea is that they just reinforce each other. I select the quotes so that it kind of reinforces or supports the message in the mind training lesson. And the mind training lesson, the workbook lesson, is just to help you actually apply it. So very practical little exercises to help you interrupt your pattern. So, we're in such a groove of repetitive thinking that what it needs is these pattern interrupts. And that's really all Jesus is doing. He's saying, okay, every few hours, today I think 6 times a day, for 2 minutes, just interrupt your pattern, stop, and think about it differently, just by using a simple idea. And so the idea is, if you continue on with this process, you do that every day. There's a lesson for each day of the year. You just continue doing it every day. There's a practice. There's an idea that helps you to interrupt your default pattern. And if you do it for a year, you will see some significant shift. You can't not practice these ideas and not have things shifting in your mind, and also in your life. It's interesting that Karen and you, both of you have had experiences during the course that have been difficult, that have been challenging, that have been the equilibrium's been disturbed, and I don't think that's an accident. Maybe they would have happened anyway, but these things happen because when you're shifting internally, your mind is changing, and often things on the external shift accordingly, and that's part of this process of learning that the Holy Spirit is guiding you through. These experiences are exactly the things you need to learn through. Without your life experiences, there's no deep learning. The concepts, the theory, you could spend hours and hours just studying the course and kind of divorcing yourself from your life. And I don't think you would learn as much as if you went, okay, let's practice these ideas and just live my life and have my experiences. But I'm going to apply these ideas, these mind training lessons to my daily experience, because that's where the learning really starts to happen. And it's ongoing. As I said, I've been doing it for 15 years and I'm still learning, because the undoing process doesn't just happen overnight. We've got a very deeply entrenched belief that we are here. Most humans, you'd say, well, do you think you're really human? I'd say, well, of course I'm human. I'm a person. Look, I've got a body. I've got a life here. The world is real. Can't you see? It's a very deeply entrenched belief system. And Jesus is questioning all of that and asking us just to take these little baby steps with him to undo it in our minds. And that's a lifelong process. It's going to take the rest of your life. But what else are you going to do with your life? Jesus is saying, well, what else is there to do with your life? Then wake up to reality. That's why you're here. That's the whole purpose. That's your function and your purpose. And all these other purposes that you've given yourself just distract you from it. The businesses and the activities and the relationships, what we populate our lives with as human beings. these are actually ultimately distractions if you are giving them value as real in your mind of themselves. You go, well, my purpose is to build a successful business and make money, for instance. Now, most people go, well, you know, what surely you want to be successful. Yes, but what's the underlying purpose behind your business? There's a deeper purpose. And that deeper purpose is, it's a great platform. It gives you all the experiences and the lessons that you need to learn on this journey. In fact, I've discussed this with Karen before, but I'll reiterate it. You know, entrepreneurship is a spiritual path. It's because what it does is it challenges you continuously. It tests you, it pushes you out of your comfort zone, and you continuously having to face your fears, aren't you? Because it's not certain, it's not secure. You don't have a 9-to-5 job where it's like, yeah, you know, you're guaranteed to get a certain income at the end of the month, and you can go home at 5 o'clock and just switch off. You know, it doesn't work that way, does it? It's much more like, okay, this is a commitment on a deeper level. So the key to the journey is not to let it overwhelm you. So too many entrepreneurs, I think, make their business their life. And they go, you know, I am my business. And that's a mistake, because now you've identified so much with the business that the ups and downs, which are inevitable in business, are gonna impact you greatly. You're gonna you know, live or die by your business. So my business is doing well, I'm happy. My business isn't doing so well, I'm depressed and sad. What you want to do is cultivate a sense of detachment by going, okay, you know, my business isn't me, but my business is a good vehicle for me to learn these lessons, for my mind to practice all these ideas. So if my business is not going so well and things are tough, great, that's great mind training. And so the business is serving its purpose. And if the business is going well and there's abundance coming in and things are kind of expanding, well, that's also part of the mind training, because I'm seeing a reflection of my own expansive mindset being projected out into the business. It's all just learning. And so then you're not in the dualistic thinking of, well, it's good, it's bad, and if it's good, I'm feeling happy, and if it's bad, I'm feeling sad. You just transcend that, and you go, well, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm learning lessons no matter how my business is doing, and my business is just a vehicle for those lessons to be learned, to help me in my spiritual growth. And that's why I say it's a spiritual path ultimately, and it's a good one, because it's going to test you. It's going to challenge you all the time. You know, as Eckhart Tolle says, you're probably not going to awaken when you're in your comfort zone. No one ever awakened when they're in their comfort zone. You don't. You awaken when things get difficult and challenging, and the ego then reveals itself, and now you have to deal with those thoughts and emotions, and you deal with them either through the Holy Spirit, which says, well, you can transcend these, you can let them go, or through the ego, which goes, oh my God, this is dreadful, this is terrible, or I'm so excited, this is amazing, this is the, you know, it's just polarities. It's making it all real. That's what the ego wants to do. So does that make sense?
100%.
So, you know, if you approach this mind training like and your business like that, you'll find that it really does accelerate your spiritual growth, and it becomes just an integral part of how you live. And that's really where you want to get to, where you just, you know, you're in the flow of life. You know, so you're doing a business, but you're not so identified with it that you forget who you are, because it's another trap. You know? The ego wants you to identify with the character in the dream and whatever you're doing in the dream. So now I'm the entrepreneur. Well, I'm a successful entrepreneur. I'm an unsuccessful entrepreneur. I'm succeeding. I'm failing. All of these are identifications in the mind, and you actually want to transcend that. I know this process can help you do that. So if you enjoy it, you know, then by all means continue after next Sunday when the course finishes. Okay. Any questions on any of that?
I'm saying it's a separate entity. That's how I just need to remind myself.
Yeah, you are not your business. You are transcendent of your business. Your business at some point will fail. All businesses do eventually. The more successful ones might last decades, but it doesn't matter because actually that's not you. Nothing in this world is you. What's important is that you learn lessons through the business and you come to a realization of who you really are. And the business is, if the business is serving that purpose, then you're seeing it truly. Then you'll function. You're seeing the business for what it really is. And your function is now true function. You are the miracle worker in your business. Your business just becomes a vehicle for the working of these miracles. And that's what I call inspired entrepreneurship. You're an inspired entrepreneur. You can make a difference to other people, to the world through your business. It becomes a vehicle to allow these ideas, these emotions to come through and to help others, to bless others and heal others. And there's a real purpose in that. I find it very inspiring. Well, that's what it's for. The fundamental illusion that most people suffer from in business is that business is about making money. If you think business is about making money, you're going to make mistakes all the time because you haven't got the purpose right. The fundamental is wrong. I'll share a story that I read or I listened to. It was on an audio book by a guy called Steve Shapiro. And so he's a motivational speaker, and his whole thing was about listening. So he's busy writing his book on listening, and he goes down to his post box and he pulls out a little flyer from a local takeaway place, and it says, we've got a special this week on swordfish and chips for $6.99 when it's in the US. So that sounds good. I don't really want to cook. I'm just writing my book. So he phones them, he orders the swordfish, the special. So yeah, great, it'll be ready in 20 minutes. Come and fetch it. So off he drives down the road, gets there, arrives, and he presents the flyer. He says, my name's this, and I've come to get my special. Oh, the guy says, you didn't tell me it was the special. All right. He said, so okay. So what difference does that make? He said, well, we've actually cooked you a better bit of swordfish. So you need to pay extra. You need to pay another $2 to get this prime cut of swordfish because we didn't know it was the special. I was like, okay, so what are you saying about the special? Oh, well, it's a piece of swordfish that's not quite as fresh. So you can either pay another $2 and I'll give you the food you cooked that we cooked for you, or you can pay $6.99. I'll give you a piece of swordfish that's not quite as fresh. He says, oh, so what does that mean? I have to wait for you to cook it? The guy says, yes. If you wait 10 minutes, we'll and he just went, forget it. Keep your swordfish. I'm out of here. And then, he told the story in his book and his podcast and stuff, because it's a fundamental misunderstanding, isn't it, of what business is about. He's saying business is about serving customers. So, if his mindset was right, he would have gone, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll give you what I've cooked for you, and I won't even tell you that, it's a higher price or whatever. Because business is about serving customers, and if you do that, then you'll keep them. So this guy could be a regular customer, and instead of instead of going, oh, I'm losing out on $2 here or whatever, you know, my job is to serve the customer and give him a good experience. So I'll just give him the swordfish, let him pay $6.99, and you know, I've got a customer maybe for years, instead of, for the sake of saving $2, he loses the customer, and then the story gets told all over the world because this guy's a motivational speaker and uses it, you know, his books. Like, you know, that was probably the most expensive piece of swordfish you ever sold, because you got so much negative publicity for the sake of saving $2. So that's just, you know, it's an interesting example, but it happens all the time in business. So people is just not understanding what the real purpose of the business is. So anyway, let's move on from that. I wanted to discuss a couple of things. First of all, any questions? Have you got anything you want to discuss? Any questions? Anything that's arisen for you? Because that's.
I don't have a question, but you haven't done your check-in, Jono.
Oh, that's true. I haven't. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so what arose for me a couple of days ago, we had a little family gathering. It was my dad's birthday, and so I'm chatting to my sister and my mom, and they're both judging. They're judging me, they're judging my wife, and it was very interesting because that particular day's lesson was about not attacking. My attack, I think my attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability, if I remember right. That was the day's lesson. So I'd practiced that a couple of times, so it was in the back of my mind. But I just noticed it was like I was emotionally detached. It didn't really matter. So they you know, they're saying all this stuff, and actually I was really unmoved. I kind of responded pretty unemotionally. I was like, well, you know, that's your opinion, but actually you don't really know. It's just your opinion. You know, there's another way of looking at this, and I didn't feel attacked, and I didn't feel, you know, defensive at all. I just kind of stated the fact. I said, well, that's your opinion, but you know, you have no real idea, especially to do with my wife, because they have no idea what her life is like and what her situation is like. So that opinion is just meaningless, because it's not even based on a full understanding of the facts in this world. Never mind that ultimately any judgment is meaningless anyway, because you're judging through the lens of the ego, which is false. But you know, even on the level of form, if you don't even understand the facts on which you're judging, then your judgment's meaningless. It's but it was really, I reflected on it afterwards, and I shared the experience with my wife, because it's like, actually that's the application in the moment of these ideas, when they just, okay, I'm not reacting, I'm not feeling like I'm getting defensive, I don't feel attacked, and you can just kind of state, you don't have to say nothing, you just kind of state the truth in a very kind of objective and non-defensive way, which is what I did, and it just happened automatically. I didn't really have to even think about the lesson. It just, that's how I responded. So it was an interesting experience, and I guess it's one where which showed me the power of these ideas. You know, that if you really practice them over and over, they do start to become your default thought system, and ultimately you want to just respond that way by default. It happens unconsciously, automatically, because you've trained your mind to that point, which is where we want to get to. You know, that's mastery or enlightenment. You know, the likes of a Jesus or a Buddha, they didn't have to consciously think about it anymore. They just were it. That's the way they were. They were the love, they were the light, and they responded appropriately, because that was their entire mind had been given over to the Holy Spirit. So yeah, that was my little check-in, and that was my interesting experience, and yeah, just validated, you know, the path I'm on, and also just how different it is. You know, you've got to understand that when you're doing this work, And then they were saying, oh, well, you know, then stop doing the course and stop doing the meditations because it's not working and it's not paying enough money. And I just went, but that's not really what it's about. You know, it's a different way of looking at it, isn't it? And you can't really reconcile these different different thought systems, as Jesus says in today's reading. You know, they're not in communication. They don't really connect because they're coming from totally opposite perspectives. So that, you know, that ego perspective just goes, well, you know, you haven't made enough money, but that's not really what it's about. It's about so much more than that. It's my own spiritual practice. It's my giving into the world. It's my teaching of these ideas, and as I teach them, I learn them. And so, you're getting so much back on another level. And I have other things that I'm doing. I'm aware of, okay, on a practical level, there's also financial matters, and you have to, make sure that you're financially sustainable, paying your bills and so on. But that's secondary. And, I'm spending time doing other businesses that do that. But just to go, well, just can it and give it up, it's not really an option. And you can't really argue because it's like they're in just a different mindset and a different viewpoint on the world of what the world is about and what it's for. So you don't have to. You can just kind of go, well, okay, that's your opinion, and I don't have to agree with it, and I don't have to fight it. I don't have to be defensive about it. I can just allow it and carry on with what feels right. Really, if you feel like you're being guided by the Holy Spirit, that you're inspired in what you're doing, then that must be right, even if on the level of form it doesn't always seem that way to other people. In fact, often it won't. It absolutely won't. And David Hofmeister talks about, when he started on this path, and he was in academia for 10 years, and he had a promising career ahead of him, and he just gave it all up. So I'm dropping out of the program, and I'm going to immerse myself in this Course in Miracles, and I'm going to go on the road. And he just traveled around for 5 years with no real plan. There was no apparent income. There was no plan to earn money. There was no business. He just, went and just trusted. And of course, his family sort of thought he'd gone crazy. They were like, "What are you doing, David? You've been studying for 10 years. How can you just throw it all away and give it all up? And how are you going to make a living? And, you're throwing away your career here, all this kind of stuff." And he just went, "Well, that's what I feel called to do. I'm going to follow my heart." And well, he has, I suppose, a career. His career as a spiritual teacher, and he's built a network, and he's helped millions of people around the world. So, but it doesn't always make sense to people who don't think that way. So just be aware of that. If you go on this path, you will get resistance and opposition from other people. You're going to go, "This is crazy. This is crazy stuff. What's happening? You're going mad. It's cuckoo." Because the ego doesn't want you to go beyond its thought system, and it'll use other people to pull you back into that, to try and convince you that it's right and the Holy Spirit's wrong. So you have to have a lot of determination. That's what he's cultivating with lessons like today's one, to be like, no, I'm determined to follow this path. And I know it's not going to be easy. And it's not all just going to be plain sailing. I will have difficulties and challenges, and there are going to be obstacles, and most people in the world are not going to agree with us, and that's okay, because they're not ready yet. They're not ready to totally open themselves up to the Holy Spirit and give their lives to God. The ego is still very much in charge, and that's okay. I don't have to get upset or angry or defensive. You can just leave them be. Sometimes it means you don't spend much time with them, or no time. That's a valid choice, which you're guided to make in each situation, in each relationship. Or you just go, well, live and let live. They live their lives their way, and you do your thing, and you don't have to agree with them, and they don't have to agree with you. Yeah, so that's my check-in. Okay, so anything else arising? Anything else you want to discuss? Otherwise, I want to just chat about the Matrix. Don't know if you managed to watch it over the weekend, but I guess the easiest way to do it is just any questions. You got any questions about it, about any of the themes, the ideas, any comments?
So I couldn't get it for Love or Money on Netflix.
Really?
Yeah.
That's strange. I thought it is on Netflix.
No, there were some suggestions that were on Netflix.
Really?
But
Have they taken it off? Interesting. I'm sure I saw it on there. Okay. Did you manage to watch it anyway?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Because then it would have to be at my computer and
Yeah.
the clicks and adverts and stuff like that. And like I said, I was quite busy today, right up until we started. So, and then I actually Googled it to see if I could download it. And saw it was 2.5 hours. So,
Yeah.
I kind of thought, how am I going to fit that in?
No, you need to make an evening and just go, okay, I'm gonna watch it. It's an entertaining movie as well, but
I've seen it before. I have seen it before, so I remember bits and pieces, but I think it'll be valuable. But what my thought was, don't just not watch it. Maybe after today's discussion,
yes,
I'll understand things better.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
never too late.
Yeah. Lisa, have you watched it before?
I've watched it a lot of times before.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this time around it will be even better because I did watch it with understanding. Oh no, my battery's dying. I'm so sorry. Just need to reach out to a power bank.
Plug it in quickly.
Okay, alrighty. Sure, it might switch off. Yeah, but I have watched it a lot of times before. It's very interesting and very informative. There we go. Yeah,
well, I'd suggest watching it again at bearing in mind these principles and just really pay attention to the subtleties. So it's the dialogue of what they're saying. It's little visual cues, and there's an enormous amount of attention to detail. Things like the numbers on the rooms, almost every bit of dialogue is meaningful. There's a deeper meaning in it. So just start paying attention to that, and you'll see that really what they're saying. I mean, it's based on a non-dual teaching. The Wachowski brothers, as they were then, they're now sisters because they had sex changes, but they'd studied Advaita Vedanta, right? Which is Advaita Vedanta is the Eastern equivalent of A Course in Miracles. It's a non-dual teaching. It's saying, there's this infinite realm of love, peace, and joy, which is beyond this world. And this world is an illusion. This world is a matrix that's being pulled over your eyes to blind you to the truth, as Morpheus says. And everything around you, you see it, it's all around you. It says the matrix is all around you. It's when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It's the world that's been pulled over your eyes to blind you to the truth that there is this other reality. There's a transcendent dimension that underlies all of this. That is not form. None of these things exist there. These are products of the ego mind designed to trick our minds into believing that we are here. We're human. We're real. Our separate identities are real. Everything that happens here is real. And the awakening is to go out of that, to leave that system, as you see Neo just like waking up and going, wow, like actually everything I thought was real just simply wasn't real. It never really happened. Comes back into the matrix and he goes like, it's weird, like I used to eat noodles there, but I realized now it never even really happened. I was just dreaming. So he's kind of awakened, and then he's coming back into the dream world and seeing it with different eyes, which is kind of what we have to do. You're not just going to leave the body and the world straight away, but you can awaken. Your perspective can shift fundamentally, And then you can come back in and you can see the world with new eyes, which is really what today's lesson is talking about. Go, okay, I see everything differently. Now I'm the awakened person. I'm the Christ mind who's awakened in the world, and I can help other people to awaken. And that then becomes their mission. It's to just wake everyone up out of their sleep. Say, actually, this is a lie. You've been living a lie. It's your human identity is not true. There's a reality beyond that. And they're making Matrix 4 now. So I think in Matrix 4 they're going to be showing that actually the entire thing, even the so-called awakened state, when Neo woke up to the so-called reality, and they're now in the ships underground and they're battling the machines and etc. That's also an illusion. That's another level of the Matrix. True awakening is outside of all of it. It's outside of time and space. It's none of these things even exist there. So I think that's probably what Matrix 4 is going to be showing people, because it's all just levels and levels of the dream. The dream world of the Matrix, and then Neo wakes up to that, apparently awakens from that to another reality, which is actually hellish, but that's not reality either. It's just awakening from one level of the dream to another. And then he goes into in the second one, into the train station, which is another level of reality. It's some like in between reality, but it's still in the mind. So there's actually 4 levels of reality in the Matrix, and I think in Matrix 4 they're going to go, okay, but actually there's a 5th dimension that's like completely beyond all of this. Even the so-called real world, where you think you're human and you're now battling the machines, and they're trying to invade Zion and kill out, wipe out the human race. It's all illusion. There's another level beyond that. So that's what the movie's teaching through. It was a very clever movie because it's entertaining. There's a storyline to it. There's the hero's journey, Neo's hero's journey of awakening. There's a social commentary on it. I sent you a couple of little clips where you can watch, and they go into this in detail. They say it's about Neo's journey. That's one aspect of the movie, of how this person awakens from the dream, and we're all doing that. If you're on the hero's journey, you're undertaking the same journey of awakening from the Matrix. And then there's a whole social commentary, commenting on our society and saying, well, what is the society that you think is real? What is the society that you think is important and real? Actually, it's a matrix. It's a prison. It's designed to keep your mind in chains, to stop you from awakening to who you really are. That's the social construct we live in. And the only way you're going to awaken is to start questioning it, saying, well, maybe there's something else. What is the matrix? That was the question. What is reality? What is reality? Who am I? These are the same questions ultimately, which Neo starts asking, and then he gets the answer. And it's funny when he's this is all starting to kick off, and the agents are coming from him. I don't know if you remember that scene early in the movie. And Morpheus has phoned him and says, right, follow my directions. I'll help you out of the building. He says, right, open the window and you can get out the building that way. And then he's going, why is this happening to me? I didn't ask for this. And he did. He absolutely did. He wanted the truth. He was searching night after night for the truth, but the truth isn't always comfortable. You got to go out of your comfort zone. He's going, why is this happening to me? Because you asked for it, because you wanted the truth. And the truth means that you have to disrupt your illusions, and you have to go out of your comfort zone. So that's all of the. It's a nice case study in the hero's journey, which we've talked about before, because it shows you these stages of awakening quite nicely, of how he goes through, it's a stage of seeking, and then he's doubting, and he has to go through some difficulty, and has to face resistance, and the choices that he makes along the journey to ultimately awaken. It's all a series of choices that he had to make, little baby steps to wake up. And so there's that aspect, the personal aspect of awakening, and then there's also the social commentary. I'm like, well, what is our society? What is this matrix we live in? I mean, more and more so. I think what's happened in the last year with COVID and the lockdowns and stuff, more and more people are starting to go, hang on, what is this? What is this system we're in? It's clearly not freedom. There's clearly, a huge amount of control. It's trying to be exerted. And that's just become more obvious. And so that will actually foster people's awakening, because people will question and go, hang on. Like maybe before I bought the system, I was just like, okay, I'm kind of happy to carry on working the system because it kind of works for me. But when the system stops working and you start to see this overt kind of control, then more and more people question. And when more and more people question, that's the first stage in awakening, saying, okay, hang on, what is this? Where and what's behind this? And ultimately what's behind it is the ego. It's the powers that be that seemingly control this world, governments and corporations, and if you believe in the Illuminati and so on, sinister forces behind it all. It's just manifestations of the ego. Just the ego using these characters in the dream to project its thought system into the world, and it wants you to buy into that. It wants to control you through that. And the Holy Spirit then just counters that, as he says, and the Holy Spirit says, just see it differently. You don't have to buy into this. You don't have to believe in these false ideas, even though they seem to be quite strong, quite powerful, quite universal in this world. Most people believe them. That doesn't mean that you have to believe them. In fact, you can't. If you're going to awaken, you can't believe in what mass consciousness believes in, because that's being asleep and dreaming, and the world wants to keep you asleep and dreaming. So that's why these kinds of courses and movies, it's still a small minority that are on them. Why don't we have hundreds or thousands of people on this call? Well, because this isn't common consciousness. It's not everyone's ready for it, to really go, okay, hang on, like what is really going on here? And I'm really willing to lift the lid on all of this. I'm really willing to go to the light. That's why he says today's lesson is great. Above all else, I want to see things differently. Above all else, saying, this is your priority. This is your commitment, your determination to see things differently, which means that you've got to go out of the ego's thought system. And the matrix is really it's a story, a parable, modern parable of seeing things differently, of seeing beyond the illusion that's designed to blind you to the truth beyond it, and having the courage to do that and follow that path. So yeah, I'd really recommend you do watch it again as as a spiritual practice. Watch it with these kinds of eyes, knowing that okay, I'm looking for all these these cues and the dialogue and the visuals, and you will see things that you haven't seen before if you start paying attention. Every scene, there's these subtle visuals going on that are pointers.
Have you watched?
Have I?
Have you watched They Lived? They Lived. Have you watched? There's a movie by the name. I think it says They Lived. They lived. They once lived, or they lived. I'll just get the exact name. Then
okay. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. So feel free to send it to me.
It's also about awareness.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there are lots of movies. Movies are just stories. They're parables, and the good ones usually they have a deeper meaning. So they pointers. You can watch movies with the truth in mind, with the Holy Spirit guiding you, and if it's a good movie, it will point you in that direction. Because under any good movie, is teaching truth in some way or another. There's a principle of truth coming through. The bad movies are the ones that are just on the level of form. There's no deeper message, and it's just like action and whatever. But actually, it's a deeper level of truth coming through in a deep movie, and you can use it as part of your awakening journey. Because the story, you can learn lessons from stories. In fact, it's like learning from life, except in a movie, it's condensed into 2 hours. So, you know, you're learning life lessons, but in 2 hours, it's all condensed and packaged. So it's a great tool for mind training, for awakening, which you can use. And you know, instead of just watching a movie for the sake of entertainment, you go, okay, every week I'm going to watch a movie and I'm going to do it consciously with, you know, as a mind training exercise. I'm going to choose my movies, right? And there's many of them out there. So yeah, you know, if and when you've watched it, we can discuss it later on in the course next week or whatever. What I wanted to chat about was today's exercise. So exercise 8, which is on blueprint for your higher self. Karen, you said you managed to do that.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So anything did you have any questions about it? Anything arise for you that you're not sure about?
No, I mean, that it does say that you would guide us if we were kind of stuck. Yes. So I didn't know if there was anything that I did too prematurely or anything. If I was together, like we did.
You managed to come up with 7 to 10 key values.
So qualities or character traits is what I understood, not values really. So
yeah, well, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of another. It's character trait is a value. You know, if I'm kind, I'm valuing kindness, or I'm valuing being helpful. You know, so yeah, you can express yours now if you want. And
yeah, so I mean, I took mine really from quite a bit from the top 3 of lesson 5, the feedback that we got.
Yes, yeah.
So I just wrote those down and made notes in lesson 7, so finding your true identity, which we started last week. And then I took my top 3 from exercise 5, which was my ego's game, and I wrote those down. And then I wrote the opposite of those.
Okay.
So where I had fearful, I wrote courageous, and then a couple of other things like brave, calm, composed, confident, happy. And then controlling, I couldn't really find the opposite for it, but I got the word free. And then for proud or pride, I wrote humble and modest. So that was exercise 7. And then I basically did exercise 7 and 5, like in the positive form. So I wrote down, I'll just read them out. I am love, I am light, I am courageous, I am free, I am humble, I am gratitude, I am forgiveness, I am blessed, I am what I am, and I am integritous.
Okay, so you got 10 down there.
I did.
Yeah, that's great. And this can change, you know, the I am love identity doesn't change. That's who you are. That's your essence. But how that expresses in the world. So that's really the purpose of exercise 8, is to go, okay, well, I am love. And that's such a high, you know, and you can feel that and it's fantastic. But in living your life, you're going to have to express that essence in different situations with different people, relationships, etc. And these character traits, these values, really help you. They anchor you into like, okay, so how do I show up in the world? How do I express that essence identity in a way that's very helpful, that guides me? You know, this value system is a guidance system. Say, okay, you know, so I've got a situation that's arisen. I have to make some decisions. Okay, well, you look to your values. So if I'm kind or if I'm courageous, how does that respond to the situation? So it's really where the rubber meets the road on this journey, because the the I am self is so transcendent that often people are like, I don't even know how to live that. How do I do that? How do I live like that? Well, the blueprint for your higher self is the answer. It's like, okay, you've got 7 to 10 qualities that you can bring to mind every day. In fact, in the follow-up, if you continue after the Art of Letting Go course, that's part of your daily practice. I am that. You just remind yourself, I am this, because it sets an intention. And the more you remind yourself, the more it becomes just a default part of who you are. And then situations arise ultimately where you want to get to, like I described a couple of days ago. It's like you just respond that way. You don't even have to think about it. Just you respond from the Holy Spirit, and it's sort of become your default thought system and value system. So yeah, it's powerful stuff, and it's designed to create a new self, a new you to focus on daily. And say, right, if I am these, then how does that show up? How do I show up in my life? And if I notice I'm out of integrity with one of those, that's good, because it means that the Holy Spirit's going, well, hang on, you're seeing the contrast between these thought systems, and you can bring yourself back to what you desire to be. This is really a statement of desire, of intent, saying this is what I choose to be. And you don't say it as I will be this, you say I am this, because you're claiming it now. That's the only place you can really do transformation. I am that now. So yeah, well done on doing that. Anything further you want to chat about, discuss on this?
I was just curious to know why. I mean, I get why number one would be important, but why was the first and the last one in the list when you read them?
Yeah. Oh, it's just the way the mind works. The first one is obviously going to kind of stick in your mind, and the last one, and often what's in the middle gets lost. But if you use this right, you're going to repeat these over and over every day to yourself. So they'll just go in. This is like reprogramming yourself, reprogramming the computer that's your mind, really, to go right. This is my operating system. These are my default values. This is my new operating system, and I'm going to keep reprogramming myself, keep training my mind to be like this. This is my it's a blueprint for your higher self. This is how I show up in the world. And if you do this, and you're consistent with these, you will see some changes in your life, because your values determine everything. Values determine our thoughts, our words, our actions, and the results that we get. I'll show you this quickly, and then we'll go to Lisa, because you haven't done your the flipping of your flock, have you, Lisa? So I want to help you through that. You missed last week's
exercise.
Yeah, so you did 2 weeks ago, and then you missed last.
Are you going to this exercise?
Yeah, so it was
yeah.
Exercise.
That's sort of something that I practice every day. I have my own affirmations that I use. I'll send them through to you. So yeah, I read them.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will definitely do the exercise. Thank you so much.
Yeah, do it, and we'll just backtrack to exercise 7, which is the flipping of your flock, because you did the previous 2 weeks ago. You did that one, which was the the uncovering of your flock. So then it's about letting that go. I'm just going to show you this this exercise, this diagram. This is called integral theory. It's the guy called Ken Wilber came up with it, and it's quite a good way of just relating these quadrants. So what he did, Ken Wilber is probably the world's leading living philosopher. And years ago, about 20, 30 years ago, he decided that he was going to come up with a model that summarized everything he knew. He'd studied all the different philosophies, religions, spiritual teachings, and so on. And he wanted to put a model together that summarized that it was kind of explained psychology, it explained religion, it explained life in a very simple, understandable way. And he came up with this integral model, which you can Google. It's all over the internet. And I think I included some stuff on it in your workbook as well, in your course manual. And so he talks about these 4 different quadrants, which are basically interactions on a matrix of two dimensions on each one. So there's individual and collective. So actually there's an individual dimension to everything in this life, and there's a collective dimension, right? We have a sense of an individual self. Now I am an individual person, an individual self, and then a collective sense. So we're all part of groups, part of families, larger groups, ethnic groups, social groups, religious groups, and so on. There's all these various groups that form, and the individuals make up those groups. So individual and collective. And then on the other axis, there's interior and exterior. So I have an interior dimension of my consciousness. That's my own thoughts and emotions, memories, states of mind, perceptions and immediate sensations, the interior self. And then we have the exterior. So that's what we can perceive outside of ourselves. So the physical body, the brain, visible and measurable behavior, competencies and skills. And where these interact, you get a quadrant. So individual interior is your individual experience, right? Thoughts, emotions, memories, state of mind, perceptions, sensations. That's the I, that's the subjective self. Then how you experience the individual in the external world is what's tangible, the body, what's visible and measurable, behavior, competency, skills, and so on. So often, especially in business, training gets focused here in these external quadrants. People focus on, oh, well, we'll just do some behavioral training. We'll teach you how to do something, and that's going to be enough. But it's not enough, because unless you've already changed that person's thoughts and emotions, their value system, you can teach them the behavior all they like. If it's out of accord with their fundamental beliefs and values, they're just not going to do it. They'll block it, aren't they? They're going to resist it, which is why behavioral change doesn't work on its own. If it was just a simple matter of training people up, giving them the skills, and then off you go, we'd all be robots. It would be like, right, just program the robot, off you go. But that's not the case, because we have these underlying thoughts, emotions, beliefs, values, which influence us. And you could train me all you like in, for instance, how to produce and sell tobacco. You could give me the skills training, but I wouldn't do it, because I don't fundamentally believe that I want to do it. It's not a good use of my time and energy. So that's just a simple example. If someone's not aligned, if these aren't in alignment, you're going to have all kinds of conflicts and difficulties in your own life, and then in organizations. If the intersubjective, so this is the place of shared values, meanings, language, relationships, and culture. If that we is not in alignment with the exterior, the systems, the networks, technology, government systems, corporate systems, natural systems, the natural environment, which is the expression of the collective culture. If there's a disconnect there, then there's also going to be conflict. So, in order to get this right, you need to have an all quadrant perspective. You need to get all of this in alignment. So what we're talking about here is the top two quadrants. This is about you. So your internal I, the values system that makes up your I, must start to align with the external, the behaviors, and what you're actually doing. And if you find there's a disconnect, then you're out of integrity, basically. That's what integrity is. It's just thought, word, and action in alignment. And there's an enormous power when you can get into alignment. When an individual and when organizations get into alignment and their value system really reflects in their behavior and the external, then they have power. There's integrity. You're going in one direction. Lack of power comes when you split your mind, when there's a disconnect, when these aren't syncing. So what I'm thinking and feeling and believing is not really syncing with what I'm doing. Then my heart is not in it. You know, it's saying the thing saying, your heart's not in it. You need to be wholehearted about what you do. That's when you come into integrity. So that's what these exercises are designed to help you to do, to really go deeply into this, which is the most ignored quadrant, because it's the hardest one to get right. Like, who am I really? You know, that goes into a deeper part of your mind that often people are comfortable with doing, but we have to go there. And then how does that now extend out into these other quadrants? If you can get the I right, and you know that's in alignment with the spirit, and you bring your behavior into alignment, you can be a change agent. You can change culture. You can change these systems because you become the change agent. You become the influencer. So it's quite a good map to understand how, you know, we can be the change in the world, as Gandhi said. How does this all work? How does it all connect in a very understandable model? So that's a little bit of integral theory. There's books and books and loads of it, but really that's the essence of it. If you can make these start to come into alignment, and ultimately all four quadrants are in alignment, you know, you can be a change agent in the world. You can really you can change yourself. You can change your own life, your own behavior. You can also start to change systems, organizations. If you're running your own organization, then this becomes critical to get this right. If you understand integral theory, then you understand it's all coming from you. And you know, there's a great saying in Afrikaans: "'n vis vrot van die nek af." Often the leader of an organization is, if their mindset isn't right, their value system is wrong, that's going to permeate into the entire organization, and you're gonna start seeing systems and behaviors that are really not particularly functional. And I think we're in a state in the world where these systems, the external systems, collective and individual systems, really are not syncing with people's individual experience anymore. So there's a disconnect, and so there's a lot of tension, and that gives an opportunity for change to happen. I think a lot of these systems, as people change internally, these systems are going to break down. And that's what we're seeing, and then we have an opportunity to recreate something else based on the truth, based on, you know, values that are true, which brings us back to this exercise, because it all starts here. Your value system, your personal value system can be shared. You know, that can create a culture, and you can share those values. People adopt those values, then more and more people do that. That's going to start to change the external system, whether it's in an organization, in society at large. You know, if you become a miracle worker, you come from this place of integrity and your values, and then you extend those outwards. Okay. Any questions on that? What I'd like to do, Lisa, maybe is just backtrack and go into let's talk about your 2 weeks ago, your experience. So I'll stop the recording because it gets quite personal, and just get you to basically do this exercise 7, which is finding your true identity. It's basically taking all of that feedback that you got 2 weeks ago on the flop, and then turning it around, flipping it, and coming up with one word or phrase that really describes that flop, that fundamental life operating program. So when you can get to that, and then you can turn it around, that's the platform then for the exercise, the subsequent exercise 8 and 9. Okay, so shall we do that now? I'm just going to stop the live share. Let's see if I can do that without. I'm going to stop the recording and I can stop the live stream there. Okay. Stop the